We all want love, but most of us don't want to date to get it. Because let's be honest, dating kind of sucks. But maybe it doesn't have to if we actually know what we're doing. Hi, I'm Kira Sabin, and this is Reinventing Dating, a smart and sweary podcast for all singles to learn the mindsets and skills to date with intention and confidence. Join me weekly as I break down the science and psychology behind what's working in our dating culture and what isn't. Every week, I bring a new topic, trend, skill, or mindset that can help us get out of our own way to learn how to date for relationships that we actually want. Because love isn't broken, but dating kinda is. But I'm reinventing it. Let's do this. Well, hello there, sugar pants, and welcome to another episode of Reinventing Dating Podcast. I'm Kira. I have a quick announcement for you. Hopefully you're hearing this in the time allotment, but I have a Black Friday sale going on. My Reinventing Dating intensives are live, finally. That's you and I, just the two of us, spending the day together, digging in on a topic. Right now I have 3 options, or you can bundle them, but the options are really basic. And they are all the things that I've been teaching for years, just condensed into a really smart and easy way, an impactful way for you to learn it. All of the information is at reinventingdating.com, which is now live. And right now I have them 50% off. 50% off, which is nutso in the butso. I'm not even going to lie. It's crazy. I have never done this work this affordably in a long time, but these are new. I'm getting them out there. And so if you want to take advantage of just kind of me beginning this new process, I would if I were you. But you have the option of either doing Date Like You Mean It, where you and I are going to create an actual dating plan for you. The next one is Feeling Worthy in Love. So we're going to talk about the brain and perspective and self-worth stuff. We spend a whole day on that, and you get an action plan to work on it, to have a plan with little bite-sized steps that you will be able to apply it, because if you're not applying it, you haven't learned it. And then finally, the last one is just really getting back to you and helping you figure out who is a good match for you and what you really need for love. I've taken my top 3 things, put them into single day intensives, just you and me, can't hide out, because I'm going to be there, and I'm going to give you guys quickly 8 reasons why you should work with me. I don't usually do shit like this, but here's the deal. I'm going to start tooting my horn through the end of time because I am good at this, and I know there are plenty of people out there who want love, who are looking for long-lasting and happy relationships. And we've just lost our way a little bit. We've gotten overwhelmed by online dating. We've gotten just frustrated from what we're seeing online and just seeing out there. And I want to remind you, if you want this, you can have it. If you are in the States, I know there's people who listen to this podcast all around the world. Shout out. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you for listening. But as a reminder, these are the stats for the States, the US, because that is where I live and that is where I work out of. But if you are single in the US, there are 100 million singles. 100 million. You only need one. And I just think that we get really scarcity sometimes, and we're like, there's nobody out there for us because we're just not meeting them right now. And we're not really leaving our house, and we're not really doing anything. And if we are doing anything, we're usually doing online dating, which sucks ass, which is hence the reason for the season or on online dating, the swipe files. But there are 100 million singles. You're just looking for one. And the reason that I chose to do the podcast that I chose today is because I want to remind us of the perspective of how many people are out there. And a lot of times, why we're not really moving forward why we are not able to get our either headspace right or our mindsets right is because of rejection. But now before that, before all of that, so I'm actually pulling this from my processes. This is something I teach to my paying clients, but I am bringing it here because I am seeing the frustration and I'm seeing and hearing from people who are just like, I don't think this is ever going to work for me or happen. I don't believe it will. I don't believe there are people out there. I don't believe this, that, and that. And I'm going to tell you that probably what you believe is just a limiting belief. And I'm going to bring in some really good thoughts about rejection today. But before that, I am going to tell you 8 reasons why you should work with me on dating in 2024. And right now, when you take one of these intensives, you actually book your date today, right? Like, we don't have to go back and forth and email 30 times. You will know what day we're working on. 2 weeks beforehand, you will get all of the pre-work and we will dig the fuck in. So you can pick any day. If you don't want to do it till January, great. If you don't want to do it till March, that's fine too. If you want to do it after the winter thaw and you're ready to start dating in April, grab a spot then. All of it works. But here's 8 reasons. Number 1, people don't like to hear this, but I'm going to say it because you're listening to this because I'm an expert at this point. So if you have been single for over a year and you don't want to be, there is work you can do to date smarter and get in relationships you actually want because you just never learned it and I teach it, right? I think that is a good kind of bar, right? If you are wanting to not be single, you are wanting to be in a relationship, you're giving yourself that permission to say, I want to be in a relationship with someone, and you're not meeting people. So whether it's like you're not actually trying or you are trying and it's not working and all of that's happened for at least a year, it's time to get active and do something about it. That's kind of like, to me, the point. If you are actively either trying or cannot get yourself over the hump to try, I can help. Next, I teach science-based knowledge that didn't come from your best friend or your coworker or your Aunt Rita or whoever is giving you advice who has never had a good relationship a day in their life. Let's be honest, we hear shitty advice all over the place. I hear shitty advice from other experts who talk about dating. I hear regularly unhealthy shit. I about spit out my coffee when I started to research on TikTok. I put in like dating advice for women. I'm like, what is everybody else talking about? And I was like, no, no, nope, no, 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 nope. Women, you need to do this and change yourself to be loved. You need to act like this to be loved. You need to text these certain things to be loved. All of that is bullshit. All of that is disempowering. All of that is not actually going to get you to love, because you could only get love when you're a real person. And all of that is manipulative game playing tricks. Number 3 reason you should work with me in 2024, I can see things you can't, right? Now, we may give the best advice to our friends and family. We might be the guru of our pack who are just like, you know what? I've got a problem going on. I'm going to go talk to so-and-so because they are so wise. I get it. But you know what? When we are in it, when we are in the when we are in the excitement, when we are in the obsessive love phase, we can't see our stuff. We can't see maybe how we're choosing and how it's not helping for us, what we're tolerating that isn't working for us. We can't see our shit, but I can. That's why you're working with somebody who didn't start doing this 6 weeks ago, but started doing this 15 years ago. I now see patterns. I see things that you cannot. So even if you're like, I know all the things about love, and I even give the best advice to all my friends, you might even be a coach or you might even be a therapist. It doesn't mean that you should know you all can't always see your own shit. I can. That's why you pay a professional to help. Number 4, I will tell you the things that your family and friends won't, with kindness and honesty, which I cannot guarantee for your mother or your father or your sister or your cousin or whoever. Have you ever wanted to get feedback from somebody in your life who you know probably has feedback, but you know they're gonna be such dicks about it that you're like, "Yeah, well, I'm not gonna ask them. Ask me. I will give it to you straight. I will not sugarcoat it, but I will say it kindly and honestly so that we can use that information for change, for betterment." I'm not just gonna be like, "Do this." No, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, man, you know what's happening here? Here's what's happening. This is probably why it's happening, and here's some things we can work on to make that not happen anymore." I'm not gonna shame you, I'm not gonna blame you, we're gonna look at what's going on, and then we're gonna actually figure out how to change it if it's not working for you, and I will do that. I think that everybody's a little nervous sometimes to work with me because 'cause I'm so blunt on this podcast. When we're actually in conversation or coaching, I'm nice. I'm a bit of a marshmallow. I probably will cry at some point. That's a real thing. Number 5, this isn't therapy. It's learning and coaching. It's a hybrid I've actually made up. I need to come up with maybe it's cloaching? No? I don't know. I gotta think about it. Clearning? But it's skills and mindsets and knowledge to build a partnership that feels good and lasts. This is not therapy. Your therapist, depending on what kind of therapy, because there's lots of mediums and things like that, but and my modalities, that was the word I was looking for, but your therapist is going to help you a lot with the past, right? They're gonna help you heal. They're gonna help you clear out some shit that might be getting in your way. They're gonna help you maybe look at some of your perspectives that came from childhood trauma or just neglectful parents or whatever it is. It is a crucial and beautiful first step. I'm what you do next. When you've had some therapy, when you've already done that work and you're like, "Okay, I wanna date." Now, most of the time, your therapist, unless maybe they are somebody who specializes in this, they're not going to be teaching what I'm teaching. They're not going to be coaching in the way that I am coaching. I am the next step after therapy because we work on skills, we work on mindsets, we look at knowledge that you need to know to build a partnership that lasts. Number 6, I have been studying this, coaching, researching love, dating, relationships for 15 years. I know my stuff, and you get to spend a whole day with me and pick my brain. And it is vast. I am not going to lie. Not only have I been doing this for 15 years, I am smart as fuck. I'm just going to say it. I am a smart person. If you listen to this, you probably know that already. I'm insightful, I am intentional, and I am helpful. Finally, number 7, I have spent the last 9 years building my own relationship with Danny using these exact skills and mindsets and process. And we are happy as fuck. Seriously, we talk things out. We solve problems quickly. We take beautiful care of each other physically and emotionally. No one feels like shit ever, and we are each other's home. If you want that, I can teach you how to do that. It's not just for the lucky ones. It's not magic. It's fucking science. And then finally, number 8, and I say this with kindness and honesty, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to fix you or do this work for you. There is no island where all the good guys live and you have to like Squid Game yourself to get there. It doesn't exist. You need to learn the knowledge and the skills and mindsets, and then give yourself also the motivation to get offline, to leave your house, and actively meet people so you can create a relationship. Because you can't do that from your couch watching Hallmark Christmas movies. You can. I wish you could. Listen, I'd be a billionaire if I could bottle that shit up. I would, but you can't. Your life is completely up to you. And even if you meet somebody and you're waiting for them to choose you, you will still have to know this work if you want a good relationship. It doesn't just happen. We don't just fall into it. It's not for the lucky ones. It's not magical. I hope I am holding back on not talking about the whole twin flames universe shit. I'm holding back till I can like actively, really thoughtfully and kindly talk about that because I know that there are a bunch of people who wanted love, who put themselves in the hands of another person. And I am, oh my God, I am tearing up just thinking about it. And these people though probably in the beginning, well intended, have taken and made something awful and shaming and disempowering. And that is the opposite of what love is. Your life is completely up to you. If you want love in a good relationship, you will need to learn how to do that. And just because you meet a good person, that's just step one. I always laugh a little bit when somebody's, I think I want to work with you. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about it or jump on the phone. And then within a couple of days, there's like, oh, wait, I just had a really good first date. So I'm going to try that instead. And I'm like, oh, okay, but that's not actually what we're doing here. That's exactly why you and I should start working together. Because if you've met somebody you like, don't you want to do it better? Don't you want to do it more like smarter so that you have better results? That's the absolute truth. And guys, you get to learn all this shit with me for 50% off. It will not be this forever. It will be this through Monday. Reinventingdating.com. I hope you check it out. I can't say this enough. If you want this, I can help you get it. If you want this, I can help you. I can't make you want it. But if you know you want this, and here's the deal, it's good to want this. It's okay to want a partner in your life. It's okay to want somebody to do this weird shit called life with. It's hard and it's boring sometimes. And it's just easier when you have somebody on your side. I just spent Thanksgiving here in the States. We just had Thanksgiving with my family and Danny's family. And man, it is so much better having him around. I will tell you. And he feels the exact same way about me because we just buffer that whole experience, and I'll drop it there just in case any of my family's gonna listen to this. But let's take all of that knowledge. I hope I got you a little bit. Yeah, maybe I do want this. Yeah. 100 million singles. You just need one. You just need one. And by the way, if you think that all the guys are out there, because the majority of women, I don't mean to suck, but the majority of people who listen to this podcast are women and who are heterosexual, so they are looking for men. So if that's the majority of people, I am going to speak. There are great men out there. I am married to one of them. He was not always like this. We created something great. Stop looking for final products and start looking for people you can grow with. All right. So I was going to talk about romance scams this week. And I'll be honest, I am slightly up an expert's butt right now to come and be on the podcast. And I don't do that all that often, but I love her and what she's teaching. And I think what she's teaching is super duper 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 important. If not, I will come and I will bring my own stats, but she's an expert in her stuff, which is talking about romance scams, talking about, unfortunately, violence and sexual violence against particularly women on dating apps, because I think that needs to be part of the conversation. But today I'm actually, like I said, going to be talking about something that I think is so important and we don't talk enough, which is rejection. And not only rejection and what it is and how it happens and what we feel like and what we make it mean, but also the very important mindsets and skills that you can build that makes rejection a lot less painful, because a lot of times, I can tell you this, your mindset and skills are not in line for where they could be or not in alignment. If when you put yourself out there, if it doesn't work out, that you like stop for months or maybe even years. There's some work there, guys. There's some work there. I've done it myself. So I don't say that in a light way. I don't say that in some kind of superior way. My 30s was a barren fucking wasteland of nothingness because I just shut that shit down. I felt overweight. I felt unattractive. I was like aging. I'm on like a dental fucking journey for the rest of my life. All of these things that I said were not going to allow me to have love. Well, let me tell you, I am still all of these things, but I now have love. I am a plus size woman, a very plus size woman, by the way. Not that there's a comparison there, but like Sometimes people are like, yeah, I plus size and I'm a size 12. Fuck that. That's not me. I am living the experience of what a lot of women who are single out there are living and getting themselves into yucky relationships. Don't do that. And I will help you do this better. So, without further ado, let's move in to rejection and resilience. And this is going to be a mini version, but I'm actually going to share with you a lot of the science and the psychology that I do with my clients because I think that not only is rejection really kicking our ass, online dating makes us feel way more rejected than if we were dating in real life. And I'm going to talk about that today. So let's first talk about kind of rejection, what it is, what it isn't. And I did this just recently with some of my clients, and I did it in the dating program, which I don't think is coming back, by the way. So it's good shit. And I'm going to start with a quick fun fact. I know how everybody likes a fun fact. So the Science of People, which is a really fun site if you haven't been there, asked their Twitter followers, and 76% of them said they would rather break an arm than be broken up with. 76% of their Twitter followers said that they would rather break their arm physically than be broken up with. I broke my arm actually in the last couple of years. I had never broken a bone in my body, which is honestly mind-blowing with what klutz, which I now know is a lot to do with ADHD, but with what a klutz, I cannot believe I've never broken anything. And I broke an arm a couple years ago. It was not fun and it hurt. I was in fucking Mexico. So for people to say they would rather break an arm, which by the way lasts for weeks, sometimes months, depending on how hard you or like what the break is, they would rather break an arm than be broken up with. How do you feel about that? Do you feel the same way? Well, I have a quick question for you. I'm going to actually take you through a couple of questions. Who here has been rejected dating? What do you feel like your worst rejection was? What did that rejection look like? Maybe it was a text, maybe it was ghosting, maybe it was a breakup, maybe it was a divorce. Now, most importantly, what did that rejection feel like? Was it fear? Was it maybe not wanting to try again? Did you end up with some depression, isolation, anxiety, anger, assumptions? Now, here's the final question before I dive in. With all of that, what did you make it mean about you? Now, pause if you want to and rewind that if you want to write down those questions and journal on them later. I'm going to now get into some of the psychology and science behind rejection in dating and relationships. And by the way, I'm specifically talking about dating and relationships. Now, rejections in life, whether that be career, whether that be friendship, these are all very, very real things. Also, today, due to the fact that this is called the Reinventing Dating podcast, I am focusing on the dating and relationship rejection point of view. All right, so what are some types of rejection in dating relationships? Let's just start there. I like to take it back to the basics. Number one, an individual may refuse to share an event or experience with their partner. So maybe they are going to the holidays and you've been dating and you've defined the relationship and you've been in it and you've claimed you're the ones and you are spending a lot of time together and all of a sudden they don't want to take you to the holidays or they have a special event coming up and they don't feel comfortable bringing you. That can feel like a rejection. If somebody withholds affection, sex, or intimacy, and not just sex, but hugs. Maybe sometimes if somebody withholds even an emotional connection for a little while, right? Another form of rejection is somebody giving the silent treatment. That's now being called abuse. But if somebody's withholding affection, sex, or intimacy from their partner, that is a type of rejection. Another type is we treat a partner as if they were no more than a casual acquaintance. I think that shows up a lot in maybe commitment or prioritization, which are both things that you have to have for a healthy relationship. You would know that if you worked with me. So being treated as if you were not or you were as similarly important as maybe a coworker or an acquaintance or a stranger feels like shit. That feels like a rejection. Next, another type of rejection. Somebody leaves the relationship unexpectedly without reason or explanation. Now, that might be in common times ghosting, but that certainly did happen in the past too, where somebody would stop calling or somebody would stop showing up and would not tell you why, which feels, especially for my anxious attachments, like unknown hell, right? That is a clusterfuck of awfulness. Another type of rejection is maybe being turned down for a date. Maybe you've asked somebody out or just said, "Hey, would you like to grab coffee sometime?" And they said no. That can be a rejection. And then another type of rejection that I see out there in dating relationships, because I'm looking mostly particularly at the first 6 months to a year, is somebody won't define the relationship. You guys have put in the time, you're probably sleeping together, you're spending a lot of time together, and somebody will not call it a relationship. Somebody won't say what it means to them. They won't have that conversation. By the way, that is very classic for avoidant attachment, just so you know. Which of those have you had for rejection? I've had probably most of those at some point. Now, next, what is not a rejection that we sometimes confuse or call a rejection? Number one, and this is particularly for online dating, you stop hearing from someone that you've actually never met. Online builds a fake intimacy, a false or a faux, I do love the word faux, intimacy, where we think we're connecting with somebody who we've maybe never even been in their presence. Maybe we've never even heard their voice. Maybe we've never seen their face besides a couple pictures, and we stop hearing from them. Now, I know we sometimes really invest our time and energy and emotions into that. Please stop doing that. It is unhelpful. It is hurting us. It's not good. But it is not a rejection if you stop hearing from somebody online or on Facebook who you've never met in dating and relationships. Please keep that perspective. I say this with experience. It can feel so much easier and comfortable to connect with people online because we do not have to be as vulnerable. That's not true connection, and it doesn't lead to love. Next, not a connection, is not hearing from someone after a first date with no future plans. Let's say you had a first date, it was okay. Maybe you liked him more than they did, and somebody doesn't really follow up. Nobody at the end was like, "Hey, we should do this again." Right? We're not hearing them after the first date with no future plans. That's not really a rejection. They don't know you. They went on a date and maybe they noticed a difference, like a value difference that they did that you didn't. Maybe they are not as ready after that first date as they thought they were, but taking on rejection and that feeling after a date with someone, especially a date that hopefully, if you're following the world of Kira and reinventing dating, is just probably like an hour. It's chill. Nobody spent a ton of money. It's not such a big deal. That is not a rejection. Next, not a rejection of someone not wanting the same relationship as you. Now, I see a lot of anxious attachment because we are trying to lock down love so much and so quickly that if we are ending up talking and spending time with somebody and we find out that maybe you're looking for a long-term relationship and they're not, they want to keep it casual. Maybe you're looking for a long-term monogamous relationship and they're more interested in poly or dating multiple partners. By the way, I am not judging whatsoever, but you should know what kind of relationship you're looking for. And that should be a question that you are getting the answer from within the first couple of dates. That should not be 3 months or 6 months in. By the way, this podcast is going to be called the rejection projection. Danny and I have been watching Big Bang Theory. He's never seen it. I watched it all and we're rewatching it. We're actually on the final season. So they love to rhyme their titles of their episodes. And the thing is that it's been weird rewatching it through my current lens of what I do and then watching it with Danny, who had never seen it, and how not healthy Leonard and Penny are, because I wanted them and remembered them being way healthier than they actually are. And we see in this last season that they're already married. They've been together, I think they're like talking about 7 or 8 years at that point, and they never had the conversation about wanting kids. And both Danny and I, Danny, who now knows all the things that I know, basically, we're both like, that's really poorly done, right? Like, whether the writers put that in and decided, we see them go through this very kind of weird and rough. And by the way, I don't really remember how it ends, so don't tell me. But we're seeing them go through this weird and rough period in this final season where Leonard really wanted kids and then Penny just decides she doesn't. And they barely talk about it. But I'm blown away that the writers or anybody, like, you should never be 7 or 8 years in a relationship and not talking about if somebody wants a family and deciding if that's going to be okay. So someone not wanting the same relationship as you, that is not actually rejection. If you meet somebody and you're like, I want a long-term committed relationship, potentially with kids and a family. And by the way, if that's what you fucking want, you should not discount that or accept anything different. These are life and relationship goals. They are fucking important. And if somebody says to you, I don't think I want that, or I'm not sure that I want that, that is, by the way, really important information that you should be getting pretty quickly. And that's not a rejection. And it can feel like a rejection, but it's not, because somebody not wanting the same things as you, that's just different relationship goals. That's not personally rejecting you. Next, someone who has different core values as you. Maybe they were raised differently. Maybe you have different spiritual or political or whatever beliefs. And no matter how cute they are and they make you laugh and you like to kiss them or make out with them, doesn't matter. If somebody has different core values as you, when it comes up, that's not a rejection. That's literally just differences. And that's the thing. When we are tying ourselves and our attractiveness and our self-worth to whether somebody wants us or not, we can make things like somebody not wanting the same relationship or somebody who has different core values as you feel like a rejection, but they're actually not. And then finally, it's not a rejection if they set a boundary with you to feel safe. I was boundaryless in my younger days. And boundaryless to me did not always or really mean people taking advantage of me, but it also meant me not saying no. I'm persuasive and I'm fun and a little funny and a little quirky. And so when somebody would set a boundary with me, and sometimes it might be like, I just don't want to go out tonight, or I don't want to do these things. I'd be like, but it'll be so much fun, or blah, 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 blah. Like, I was not actively listening to their needs. I was like, this is what I want to do. And I can make it fun for you too if you want to come join me. But really, this is all about me. Let me tell you that this is not easy, by the way, talking about myself like this. So if you guys think that me just talking and this tone of a voice means that this is easy, admitting how sometimes shitty I could be in my past friendships and relationship, it is not. It is not. But if somebody sets a boundary on their time, on their energy, on their emotions, on their whatever, to feel safe and okay with their life and their day, that is not a rejection towards you. All right. So now, what types of rejections show up in dating and relationships, and what are not a rejection? Now, why does a rejection suck so fucking hard? Why does it feel so bad? Here is some of the psychology behind it. Number one, social pain, such as being rejected and let down by others, and physical pain, are felt in the exact same parts of the brain. And by the way, Tylenol does actually help. Seriously. Next, when our feelings are hurt, our self esteem takes a hit, especially if you haven't worked on your self worth and your self compassion. And it unsettles our feeling of belonging. Now, a little bit of like history and science and brain stuff, actually, some neuroscience, but rejection served as a vital function in our evolutionary past. So, in the hunter gatherer past, being ostracized from our tribes or our communities was actually similar to a death sentence because we were unlikely to survive for long out on our own because of maybe water or food or animals or attacks or other tribes. That was the worst thing that could happen for us. And by the way, that evolution is still in our amygdala, part of our brain. So that's why social rejection, social pain, or just even personal rejection can feel so anxiety producing, depression producing, because it triggers that part in our brain of, uh-oh, am I going to be sent out into the forest or jungle to fend for myself? You are not. By the way, you are not. That's just our brain triggering from our past. So evolutionary psychologists assume the brain developed as an early warning system to alert us when we were at risk for ostracism. Because it was so important to get our attention, those who experienced rejection as more painful gained an evolutionary advantage. They were more likely to correct their behavior and consequently more likely to remain in the tribe. Now, next, here's the other crazy science about this is we can relive and re-experience social pain way more vividly than we can physical pain. Right now, I may talk about breaking my arm a couple of years ago. I know and may say that at the time I remember it being very painful. I actually walked around for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, not knowing it was broken, just thinking it was sprained because I'd never broken anything before. And we were in a foreign country and it was COVID and all of the things. But they actually did an experiment to help people recall an experience where they felt significant physical pain. And when that happened, our brain pathways responded with just a meh, because the memory alone doesn't really elicit physical pain. But try reliving a painful rejection, actually don't. And you're going to be flooded with many of the same feelings you had at the time, and your brain's going to respond much as it did at the time, too. Our brain prioritizes rejection experiences because we are social animals who live in tribes. Rejection also destabilizes our need to belong. We have that fundamental need to belong to a group. Once again, that's built into us. Community, connection, that helps us thrive. And for many, many years of human life, it helped us survive. So when we get rejected, this need becomes destabilized, and the disconnection we feel adds to our emotional pain. Now, when you're being rejected, they say that the best thing to do is start reconnecting with people who love you. So friends and family, they can help soothe that emotional pain after a rejection. And the hard part is, if you are like me, somebody who does a freeze as the fear response, I isolate. So that means I sleep. I isolate. I don't talk to people. I get stuck in my head. And all of that is the opposite of what we should do when we are feeling disconnected or rejected. And then finally, I do want to share this. It's not a fun fact, by the way, because it's not fun, but it is a fact. Rejection actually creates surges of anger and aggression. So in 2001, so this is quite a while ago, but I can't imagine that this is that different. The Surgeon General of the U.S. issued a report stating that rejection was a greater risk for adolescent violence than drugs, poverty, or gang membership. Everybody hear that? Rejection was a greater risk for adolescent violence than drugs, poverty, or gang membership. So, countless studies have demonstrated that even mild rejection can lead people to take out their aggression on innocent bystanders. School shootings, violence against women, and fired workers going postal are other examples of the strong link between rejection and aggression. However, much of that aggression elicited by rejection is also turned inward. Because finally, rejection sends us on a mission to seek and destroy our self esteem. Unfortunately, the greatest damage a rejection causes, it's usually self inflicted. Indeed, our natural response to being dumped by a dating partner or getting picked last for a team is not just to lick our wounds, but to become intensely self critical. We call ourselves names, we lament our shortcomings, we feel disgusted with ourselves. And in other words, just when our self esteem is hurting most, we go and we damage it even further. Doing so is emotionally unhealthy and psychologically self-destructive, yet every single one of us has done it at one time or another. Rejection really triggers the evolutionary part of our brain and it takes over. So when this happens, we have to fight back so the rejection doesn't hold us back from going after what we want. And if we have allowed, after a bad few dates or a bad relationship, if we are giving our power away to that ex by never dating again and never giving our love to someone else again, that's a problem. But rejection also sucks because it's a trigger. And it can trigger childhood abandonment issues. It can trigger low self-worth and self-esteem. It can trigger fixed mindsets. All of this stuff, by the way, is in those foundational episodes. Limiting beliefs, self-fulfilling prophecy, all of the shit. Now, how do we make sure? Because here's what I'm going to say, especially if you are online dating. If you are online dating, there will be feelings or projection, hence the projection, of rejection when, let's say that we reach out to somebody and they don't get back to us. That can feel like a pang of rejection. Now, in real life, we probably wouldn't feel that because we're not putting ourselves out there in those kind of ways. We're able to see people, we're able to see who they are, if they are interested in having a conversation with us or having, you know what I mean? It's easier to see people because we get to see body language. We get to see the way they carry themselves. We get to hear their voice and their intonations. We get to see, oh, maybe this is a person who doesn't seem as healed and ready as they thought they did. We can't see that through a phone. We can't see that through a dating app. We can't see that through minor texting or liking or smiling or flirting or all of the different weird shit you can do on dating apps. We can't see who that person is. All we can see is what they have put up as pictures in a profile and assume that it's true. But that's not actually giving us information if that person's ready, if that person's a good match for you, if that person shares your values, if that person shares your relationship goals. And most people aren't really self-aware to be able to know the difference. So online dating, to me, ups that rejection factor times 1,000. So let's say you reach out and that person never gets back to you. Boom, that feels like rejection. Let's say you talk a couple of times and then that person goes away. Boom, that feels like a bigger rejection, yet nothing really has happened or changed. Let's say you talk to somebody a little bit. Who knows? They may say they're looking for a relationship, but maybe they're really going through a breakup. Maybe they're really going through a tough time in their life. Maybe they've just lost a job and are struggling. We don't know through a phone. We don't know through text. So we make up stories that it's about us. We make up stories that because we've talked to a couple people online on a dating app that we may not even be paying for, so who knows who these people are, that they don't want us. But all of that is fake information It is if you maybe texted, and I see people sexting, I see people sharing very important and vulnerable information over text before even meeting someone. Who does that? Raise your hand. If you do, I can work on that with you. We can talk about what to share, when to share. That's part of the learning and coaching that I do. But all of these different steps that online dating has us go through, and that not even online dating or dating apps have us go through, but we also just do, which is maybe talking to somebody or texting with somebody for weeks or months before we ever meet them. Do you realize the stories you've created in your head about that person and you haven't even been in their presence? And then let's say you're doing that for 4 or 5 weeks, but you've never actually stepped out outside your house and met this person. And you've shared all of these really intimate details with them, and they've shared them with you. You have now created an expectation for that first date that is going to psych people out, that is going to scare people away, and you are setting the situation up for failure. Online dating does that. It, to me, ups the level of rejection times 1,000. I'm not even talking about the people that are total dicks on online dating, because I see the texts and I hear the horror stories of what people do. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just the general process of online dating and how much rejection is built into it, or what feels like rejection if you're already a little bit over dating, if you're already a little burned out about life, if you've already been trying this for a while and it hasn't been working. But what I see is I don't see people going, oh, I guess online dating, this tool isn't working for me. Instead, I see people going, oh, I guess dating and relationships and loves aren't working anymore. That's a fucking problem. That's a total problem. If we are giving up on love and dating and relationships and the potential of our future because of online dating apps, that is a problem. And it's a problem that we have to fix. Because I feel that right now, what we are seeing, particularly in the American culture, because once again, this is where I live and yada, 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 is a humongous pushback, not to rejection, but to loneliness. And what happens when you are lonely and you're in your house by yourself and you start feeling rejected and you start being mean to yourself is you start going online and maybe you start finding people who make you feel less lonely, but they're angry or they're jerks or they're also super unhealed. And people find these people, and all of a sudden, this is why we have what we have. This is why we're seeing so much violence, so much anger, so much hate, because people feel so disconnected and so lonely. So to me, this isn't about getting people laid. This is about changing the fucking world. I can guarantee every single person who is creating or doing an act of terrible violence or crime or hate is horribly lonely and probably horribly self-loathing. Online dating is perpetuating that. Let's take it back to if you were dating offline and in real life. Number one, the chance of you actually meeting up with people is going to be way less. It's just going to be way less. So there's not this kind of day in and day out of just because somebody didn't read our message or respond to our message or decided to stop responding to our messages, it's not a rejection, right? It's just either meeting people and going on dates or you're not. Now, you might go on a date, but the level of rejection you're going to feel on that date is probably going to be pretty low. You're going to be able to see them for who they are. You are going to, especially if you've not texted much, especially if you barely know them, maybe you were set up through a friend or met through mutual friends or something along those lines. or you're meeting them at an event or speed date, whatever. You've now seen them. You now understand who they are a little bit, even just by their body language, even just by the intonations in their voice. There are very quick things that we can learn about somebody when we are in their presence. So now you're sitting across from each other. There's not 1,000 expectations. You haven't shared things that you're now horrified that you shared with somebody that you barely know. You're having a basic date to go, hey, is this somebody I want to know or meet up with again? That's it. And at the end of it, maybe one or both of you aren't interested in moving forward. And it's not a major rejection because you're like, oh, we actually had real conversations and it turns out they just don't want the same thing as me. Okay, bummer. But I'm not going to shut down my feelings in the world because of it for the next 3 years. In real life, kind of the worst kind of rejection you're going to have is if you start seeing somebody and get to know them and I'm going to call it for what it is. We can call it ghosting. We can call it breaker. We can call it zombie. I swear to God, the shit that people share with me on a daily basis of the new dating term, all it is emotional unavailability. We can call it whatever you want. It means that person is not emotionally ready to create a relationship with you. It's not personal. It's not your problem. They are or they aren't. Move on. If somebody's ghosting you, that person is just showing you exactly where their emotional maturity is at. Pay attention. But the fact that we make these things now personal rejections towards who we are is a massive problem. Quickly, how do we change this? I think we get the fuck offline. I think that's the first thing. I think that dating apps, I feel like I'm giving a dissertation, as I'm going to prove over the next 3 episodes, dating apps are not working for us. And the thing is that dating apps were always supposed to just be a tool to maybe meet new people or get in front of other people that you might not see on a daily basis. But they've become a crutch. They've become this thing that we do in our spare time, that we do basically like Amazon shopping for love. And that's not the way that love and dating and relationships work. Period. Now, I am going to share a video in the information for this episode. So wherever you see this information, if you click on it, there's usually a little writing, and that's where this will be. And it is a very short, I think 1-minute video about a little girl trying to jump on a stool and going and doing it again and again with the support of her father. And I share this with you, and you can pause it and go watch it right now. That'd be the best. But if you're listening to this or you're cleaning, you can go back and watch it later. But I show this to my ladies, my clients, in this video. And by the end of it, she gets on the stool. Yes, she's 4 years old. It's like super empowering and like exciting. And then I say to everybody, who here has that kind of grit and resilience when it comes to dating and relationships? And virtually every single person I have worked with is like crickets. And they're like, no. Because we make dating such a big deal, because we take things so personally, and now we've added in things like dating apps and texting and devices and all of these other things, our resilience and grit in dating is pretty much zero. But as I said in the beginning of this episode, no one is coming to save you. No one's coming to fix you. Nobody's coming to do this work for you. If you don't have the self-worth and motivation to put yourself out there, and by the way, that doesn't mean you don't take breaks. That doesn't mean that if you've had a pretty massive breakup, you don't take some time to process, to hopefully talk through with a therapist, hopefully like work with somebody like me to really look at what worked and what didn't work. You of course do that. But if you're out there having first or second dates and they're not going anywhere, and you're deciding that love is now dead and all men are shit, We've got some work over here to do. Emotional resilience is a mindset that you can learn and a skill you can build. It's a never give up attitude. Now, what are really simple ways that we start working on resilience and then what's actually called grit, which is a great book by a woman called Angela Duckworth. It's all part of the positive psychology world that I'm a part of, but it is a great skill to build. And honestly, I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart. I had zero fucking grit until I started building it. I was like, this doesn't work the first time, I'm out. This feels harder than I want it to be, I'm done. I never like learned grit. I never learned perseverance. I never learned resilience when things get tough. I laugh now at all the different people I dated and we would fight and then it would be over. Or we wouldn't even fight. We'd just have an awkward conversation or somebody or like some drunken kind of weird thing and then I'd never hear from them again and I wouldn't contact them. Is that grit? Is that resilience? Hell no. How do we develop grit? What's the easy way? You get clear on your goal. Dating isn't really fun. I get that. But why are we dating? For a partner, for connection, for support, for love, for a long-term relationship, maybe for a partner, for a co-parent. Why are you dating? Have a goal and know what you're doing because it's going to get you up out of bed in the morning. It's going to get you going out on the weekends to meet new people. It's going to get you doing things when you say, I'm looking for a partner. Next, how do we develop grit? You practice until it isn't scary anymore. Now, all of you are going to fucking roll your eyes, but I'll tell you this, if you are spending time on dating apps, you have time to practice date. Now, every single thing in our life, if you are going to go, you would never go up to a personal trainer and say, here's the deal. I want to get buff. I want to get really healthy and strong. I expect it to be by next week. You would never do that. We all have this kind of normal processing when it comes to certain things. We understand that if we want to get stronger and healthier, we are going to have to put in time and energy to practice, to learn how to build that strength and keep getting stronger and stronger, lifting heavier and heavier things, or doing longer cardio or harder cardio. We have to do these different things. We don't think that by next week we're going to look or feel completely different. But yet when it comes to love and dating, we're like, I'm one and done. I'm like in this or I'm out. I'm either trying or I'm not. Or I've had 1 or 2 dates and those didn't work, so fuck it, we're out. So one of the ways to work through that and develop grit, make a goal to practice dates once a week. Now that might just be with a friend. It doesn't even have to be with the opposite sex if you are hetero. It can be with a friend. It's just you getting out, putting on clothes that make you feel good and empowered and nice, dressed up in a favorite outfit, getting ready, getting in the mindset, practicing questions and answers and connecting, watching like how you show up in those moments. Practice until it's not scary anymore. Maybe you know somebody and you know you don't want to be with them and they don't want to be with you, but you can say, hey, do you want to go to practice date with me for an hour? Answer some questions so we get better at it. I'm not your person and you're not my person. Because we don't have the same goals, but that doesn't mean we can't practice. And I loved this, and I'll share the article, but I read an article about a woman saying, I'm practicing dating. She said, for me, this meant going on more dates. In other words, taking the time to practice dating. It only made sense that I had to practice if I wanted to get better at something. So I set a goal of 1 date a week. It didn't have to be with somebody new, but it could be. I just had to dedicate the time for the task. In other areas of my life, when I wanted something, I put time into it and I saw results. Why not with dating? As I dated weekly, I became more comfortable being myself on dates, and this led to deeper and better connections with potential partners. Additionally, I was able to read my dates with greater accuracy because I recognized patterns in my new, larger sample size. Boom. Nothing else in life do we think we're going to be great at the first time. Nothing. But yet, when it comes to dating and relationships, we're like, uh-oh, this hasn't happened to me now, so I guess it's not going to happen to me ever. We don't treat the rest of things in life like that. Why would we treat this? I met Danny at 41. I had not been in a long-term relationship for years before that. And questionably, I had never been in a healthy long-term relationship before that, ever. We worked through this together. We failed. We ruptured and repaired, as Gottman likes to say. We failed and we fixed. But we did it, and we came out the other side better and greater and just having so much more fun. Now, people who consistently develop and maintain rejection and resilience, they embrace challenges, they persist in the face of setbacks and disappointments, they see effort as a path to a healthy relationship, they learn from criticism or feedback, and they find other inspiration. Look at who are your relationship role models. What relationship do you look at and say, I want something like that? What do you emulate? And it better not be a fucking TV couple. It better not be something on something really unhealthy. It better hopefully be somebody in real life. So, guys, most rejection isn't personal. Are you taking it that way? And are you letting online dating convince you that you're being rejected when you're not? What do you think? All right, guys, that's it for this week. What did you learn about rejection or resilience or your lack of it? Do you want to work on it? Let's work on it together. These are things we do in my day-long intensives. They are 50% off right now. I don't know how you don't look at what I'm offering, the follow-up, the pre-work, the day together, and not see the financial worth. Let's fucking do this. Let's raise your resilience. Let's raise your grit. Let's raise your skills. Let's raise your mindsets and get you love in 2024. I believe in you. I believe you can do this. If you're not sure, reach out to me, Kira at reinventingdating.com. I want to talk to you. If you liked this, if you loved it, please make sure you subscribe. Come check out reinventingdating.com. It's up. There is now day-long intensives. And one huge favor, please share this with the other singles that you know, so we can all reinvent dating together. Because when we know what love is, when we know our mindsets, when we understand how we work, we understand the skills, we can get in better relationships, period. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Until then, don't forget to meet love halfway.